Hello and welcome. How does one choose that place of employment? What if you have multiple offers or are looking for a job? Are you going to go for one that offers the highest remuneration, or is that so-called evasive job satisfaction going to determine it for you? What works for whom and why? That's what we try and discover as we ask, is money the biggest factor when choosing employment? Joining me now, Jasleen Royal, who's a singer and songwriter, and Gaurav Godbaksani, who's a lifestyle entrepreneur. Thanks so much for being with us. Jasleen, you first. You're saying no, it's not money. That's quite interesting. I wouldn't say it's rare, but it's interesting in this day and age. Go ahead, your time starts now. You have a minute.
Okay, money is not the most important thing because there are a million other things like interest, job profile, job satisfaction, location, people you work with, what you're working on, and also passion. Since I'm a musician, I don't want a 9-to-5 job. I don't want a routine thing. I don't want someone bossing me around, and I just want to make good music. And then obviously survival is very important. I want to make money at the end of the day because I want to survive, but it's not the biggest factor. Like, that's what we're debating about. Is it the biggest factor? It is not. That's my take.
Okay.
And
do you think your stand comes from the fact that you're a creative person? You can afford to say this.
Yeah, aren't we like reflecting ourselves here?
Yeah, so that's what I want to understand. That you're sort of talking from your own perspective, but you would see if it's different from somebody else.
Yeah, totally. I would totally get that. And,
right.
I would not judge someone if money is the most important thing for them. But a lot of people think that money is when actually they also are weighing all the other options in their heads, but they just think like money is the most important thing. Like, for example, like if someone is getting like a lot of money working in a small city, or like, that's what I asked him, like outside. So would you relocate yourself if getting a lot of money? He says like, I like my certain lifestyle and I want to stay in Pune where he's from, and I don't want to move. So that's another factor he's considering before jumping.
Right. So just anything won't do. Gaurav, you're not willing to make that move out of Pune because you've got used to it, you like it, perhaps life is there, friends are there, etc.
Right.
So, but how far do you think people are nowadays willing to go?
I think people are willing to go really far when it comes to money. Because after really thinking about it a little bit, I think that everything boils down to money at some level. Whether it's job satisfaction, whether you're growing, and there are many different reasons why people take up jobs. But I think single-handedly, money is the biggest factor that people consider while taking up employment. So would I be willing to move out of Pune? Sure. If I do get a good opportunity somewhere else, and being an entrepreneur, I do have that flexibility of moving somewhere else, but I'm happy where I am right now. If there is a reason for me to move somewhere else and be equally comfortable or be making more money, I'll definitely consider that.
Tell me one thing. When you say looking for, like, if there's a better opportunity, how do you define opportunity? What is a good opportunity for you?
I think a good opportunity comes with what is a better opportunity for me. See, while I'm running my own business, I kind of create my own opportunities.
Right.
So I do this for some time. Either it
and
works,
then perhaps something else, if sort of you believe is a better fit at that time,
absolutely,
you would be willing to consider it.
Absolutely, just
right.
keep progressing on,
right.
Implement what you've learned,
right.
move forward with that,
right.
and as long as you're happy, bottom line,
Exactly, as long as you're happy.
But bottom line is being happy, right?
Exactly. The bottom line is being happy, but perhaps you believe that money can go a long way in getting you that happiness. How far, I mean, so can money buy you happiness?
So I'll tell you something that I think about money. Couple of things.
Yeah, carry on.
Couple of things. One is, I think money really needs to be in your head and not in your heart, so that you're making logical decisions. It's logic that's making this decision. If it's in your heart, you become emotional. And if you're making emotional decisions about money, you might not be making the most accurate decision for yourself at that point. And second is, I don't think it's the most important thing. I think it's the biggest factor, most definitely.
Right.
There are so many factors why people consider employment, whether it's for a job, whether it's for a different job, whether it's for employment. There are different reasons why people consider jobs. But
that's interesting. You're saying perhaps it's not the biggest thing in life, but when it is a very big factor in employment. It's a big factor in life as well.
But that's what I'm saying. It may be like a big factor, but it's not the biggest, because like if there's a working mom, right, and she would want to work closer to a house, and maybe like the working hours should be such like she can spend a lot of
so
time
in
with her.
situations you would compromise.
Yeah,
you've
totally.
seen companies therefore come up with flexi hours and therefore
Yeah, exactly.
flexi pay.
So she would
just to
choose
help
that kind
with-
of
right.
a job
Right,
profile, right?
right,
So
right.
money is not the biggest there. She might lose. She might want to lose a chunk of money which she would have made otherwise, but she's happy right now, like not making that kind of money.
Yeah, I absolutely think that.
That's happiness for her.
Absolutely, and I won't say that money is going to buy you happiness. At the same time, I feel after you have a certain amount of money, then it doesn't become the most important thing because
Right.
you
But
can actually
what's
take
But
care of
also you
yourself.
need to get to that amount.
Absolutely, otherwise you're not going to be happy. You're
Sure.
not.
Okay. There are many, of course, who would agree with you. But tell me, who would then decide when it's enough? Like, do you really believe that there can be a time when anyone look around you? Do people sort of reach a certain point and say, okay, now I don't want, I've got enough?
Absolutely
It rarely
not.
happens. I mean,
It-
that's
it never
human
happens.
nature.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And money is, it's relative. What is too
Absolutely.
much for you
Absolutely.
might be nothing
More
for
than enough.
somebody else,
Absolutely.
and vice versa.
Just the cynics would say that it's very well for us, to sit back and say that money is perhaps not the overarching factor, is not the most important thing. But if there are all those out there, and if they have this passionate zeal, make it, perhaps they've been through experiences, perhaps life's been such that they come from a different experience. They've got different baggage with them. So the cynics would perhaps say that it's all okay for you guys to say this, but you guys are not in touch with reality.
Not really. Like I'm an independent girl. I'm making my living and I'm performing, playing, whatever. I'm gigging, and obviously when I started there was no money. I never thought about like making a lot of money. I just wanted to do something I was really happy with. Like making a good song and getting it out and getting the appreciation and making it, seeing it reach people. Okay? So then money follows. Like if you're good at something, you do, money and success is going to follow you, and you can only be good at something if you're passionate about it.
Right.
So that's my point.
Right. You can go ahead.
Absolutely. I think you definitely need to have passion in anything you need to do to succeed. And I think passion equals profit. In the long run, passion equals profit. But
I like the way you've taken it back to where we started. Yes. Okay.
and to have
Explain that a bit.
what passion to
Yeah,
profit is.
yeah.
So I'm an entrepreneur. I figured out at some point what really gives me happiness, and I turned that one thing into a business. So
I see.
So you find your passion, then you say, okay, I could monetize it because of my certain skill set. I could monetize it in these many ways.
Right. So
And,
you were sort of more of a shrewd entrepreneur, sort of person with those shrewd skills, shrewd enough to sort of know that this is what I want and this is how I'm going to use my skills to get there. But of course, that's perfectly all right. But you mentioned that for you, the biggest thing was getting a great song, getting that appreciation, all of that. Perhaps, would it be fair, Jasleen, to say that one can only say this if you have a certain kind of support, say, from family?
Not really.
No?
Like
How would you manage then in those initial years where money
I was
was
just
sort of
gigging
not-
like for like playing small gigs and stuff, and gigs I really didn't want to maybe, but I knew like in the bigger picture like it's going to help me out. Now I can refuse those gigs and I'm performing at better festivals. So it's just a process, you just like it, because you're so passionate about your thing. Money is like at the back of your head. It's not the most important thing. I can watch my budget. I can eat at like not very
really like a
expensive,
fancy
yeah.
place,
And
yeah.
then because I really want to pursue something, and money is not the thing right now. I can travel in autos and not buy a car or
But you sort
take
of-
a metro.
But when you talk about all this, do you
Economize.
sort of have deadlines that you've set for yourself? That today, while I don't eat at a fancy place, I may travel and use public transport. There will be like by the time I'm so and so, or in so many years from now, I will. I will not. Or does someone like? I just want to get into your head, frankly. How does it work for someone like you, which is very different from the rest of us?
I don't know. It cannot be a planned thing.
Okay. Okay.
And I never thought about it like that.
Really?
Yeah. So it
Maybe
just
that's
worked out.
Maybe there's sort of one lesson there that you don't think about it. It just works out. But that I have to say, I do think is reasonably unusual. That I know we don't really go according to a plan. Most people, would say that yes, we have some plan and we
Right.
hope and we try and work towards that plan.
Right.
Whether it works out or not, of course, there are a whole other factors at play.
Absolutely.
Is that how it's worked for you?
I think you need to have a long-term plan, saying that, okay, I'm passionate about this and I see myself making a career in this, okay? At the same time, you have a short-term plan saying that, can I float my boat? Can I pay my bills? Can I afford to pay my rent the next month? So there's that harsh reality in that. So I think while you should give it every single thing you got, save any penny that you can so that you can pursue your passion, there becomes that date. If you don't have backing, if you don't have support, then what do you do? And money is really a necessity.
Right.
It's a necessity. It's not a luxury.
Right.
So
exactly. Let's start with it just being a necessity.
But,
Do you have these kind of concerns? What about the rent? Do I
yeah,
sort of
so
need to
will
save a bit for a rainy day?
Choose a cheaper place to stay at.
But at the same time, like how cheap becomes cheaper. That's why it's relative. Like what's cheap to you, it might not be cheap for me.
No, but I'm saying like that's survival. Like once the basics are
survival.
covered, then
But then
everyone
how happy do you think you would
everyone
be with
has
survival?
choices while choosing employment. You're talking about survival right now. So
Right.
once the basics are covered, you can
but
feed
you still
yourself.
need those basics, right? You
Yeah,
need
so
those
that's what I'm
basics.
saying. Like, if there's a writer or any other creative person, they can blog about it, and they'll be like, if they're good at it, then they
Sure.
can start
If
making
you-
money from it, and
absolutely.
then it's a slow process, right?
Right.
So my point is like money is not the biggest factor. It is.
But do you feel that when you sort of in your immediate circle, how many people do you sort of meet? What's your sense? Do you meet people who sort of feel the same way as you, or
No, I mean like
or do people look at you and say that
different,
you know,
all sorts of people. Yeah, like people,
Yeah.
people who are gonna like judge me and what is she doing with her life, and then people will be appreciative.
Right.
So it's okay. Like
as long
that's
as you're
fine.
doing what you're doing and
Yeah,
enjoying
exactly.
it, I guess that you're halfway home, right? I mean, isn't that how
And
it works?
since like chasing money is totally futile because it's never enough. Like it's like dog chasing its tail. That's what I think. Like when I talk to my domestic help or like when I talk to him, he also needs a bigger car. That person also needs a better bike. So where do you
draw the line?
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line is usually the question that it's, maybe it's okay to start off and want to do it. Maybe it's okay to still want it after 5 years, but 10, 15, 20.
Right.
It really is endless, isn't it? Isn't that what we see around us? I mean, this is an exception.
Okay.
Come on, man. Don't make me sound like that.
So, I think money is really kind of a commodity. It takes you from one place to another. It'll take you anywhere, but
It only take you so far.
and you are the driver. You are the driver. You decide where your money takes you. And I think that with money, a lot of good can come if you are taking it in the right direction. Most people have this thing that, oh, too much money is not good. I don't think
Depends on
that.
what you do with
It depends. It really depends on like what you do with it. And if you look at like the leaders, the tech leaders in the world, the stuff that they are doing with their money is remarkable. Whether it's for entrepreneurship, whether it's for a cause that they believe in, they are taking millions and millions of dollars and they're doing it for social good.
Right. I'm running out of time, Justine, but respond to that. I mean, he's saying there's why put a limit on the amount of money? There's so much you can do with it, not just for yourself, but for others. Does that sort of change the argument
But
then?
aren't
in a
we
certain
like
sense?
aren't we drifting away from the topic?
No, but we just
like,
just looking beyond. People who do all sorts of things
Yeah.
with their money, like give it away, give it away for a cause. That's what people are doing, and I do think that we have very few of those examples in India of people having a lot and then giving
but maybe
giving it away.
like giving money like charity, right? But that's also
to a
like
cause,
another
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Like a lot of people do it because they want to do themselves good. Like they think like if they put out a chain of good things
Karma.
and
Yeah.
Karma.
religious beliefs.
Perhaps.
And that's-
But
that's
as long
playing-
as
and
long
that's
as
in
you're
play.
doing good, I think
I think-
whatever drives you at the end of the day is okay.
But you
Money
can do-
doesn't drive you, but
But you
it's
can do a
good-
lot of good deeds without money. You can just
Sure,
So-
sure. But money helps too, especially for all those who perhaps need it the most. I'm sure that it would go a certain way. But I do take your point that as far as employment is concerned, I guess different strokes for different folks. It's not what drives you, it's not what motivates you, and you have a different story. As long as both of you are, I would imagine, settled and happy with where you are. That just wraps up the arguments. Well, on that note, we're slipping into a quick break. But Jasleen, Gaurav, thanks so much for being with us. Coming up after that, all that's making news on the internet, all that you missed online this week, but you can't get away from it anymore. Come right back.